Happy Tuesday, everybody. Hi, Rodney. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
And I am doing, it's Tuesday, my favorite time of the week, man, talking to you and getting out into the world, spreading our good message today, things for home buyers to be happy about. So I always start the same way. Anything fun happen here the last week to you?
No, if you want to share my screen, excuse me.
Here we go.
We won't talk about anything fun, but we'll talk about what happened.
Do say, here we go. Do this, gotta do that, gotta do this. Bang. There you go.
Today we are relatively pretty flat. You can see today that we're only down 8 basis points. Uh, the S&P's only down 27 points, and our 10-year Treasury's up 10 basis points. So that's relatively flat. But if you scroll down, I'm going to click on the last 1 month. You can kind of see what's going on here from, September 12th through today. It's just been a constant decline, worsening of our mortgage rates.
Okay.
It is what it is. I mean, it's, we can talk about, I guess why the government's doing that, and
Yeah,
they're
Phil,
trying.
if you what's your take on that, Rodney?
Well, it's definitely an opinion here. I'm not a market specialist by any stretch of imagination, but from what I understand, the government is trying to, they have fancy terms for it, like housing correction and things like that. But basically, they're raising their interest rates so high because they want supply and demand a little bit more in balance.
Right.
They want I guess what they're saying is that if they slow down housing enough to where that balance comes back into a more, I guess, friendly balance, that they'll have, when this whole thing slows down and all the people, let's say the appliance people, the lumber companies, everybody associated with housing, which is, a large part of our economy.
Right.
When they start kind of feeling the pinch, say the appliance people, the cabinet, like I was talking to a cabinet guy yesterday, and he is like, "Man, we're still booked out for a while, but we're finishing orders so much faster, and we're fixing to be out of work." Um, and when they start feeling the pain, I guess what the government's saying is that when everybody starts suffering a little bit with jobs and in, the slowdown of the economy or slowdown of this business, um, that's going to tame inflation. So, and then they're going to, probably use housing just like they did several years ago, and then artificially lower our rates and create another housing boom. So that's my crazy thought.
Yeah, I think that you're right. There was a couple of things I caught um, today, and one was I understand. I'm certainly not a carpenter, but I understand the lumber market has really tanked. That the cost of lumber has really gone down a lot. Meaning the supply side, maybe not at Lowe's or Home Depots or whatever, but but I have heard that lumber has gotten relatively cheap compared to what it was, right? And I also heard that Powell, Jerry, good old Jerry, that they're calling for they're not going to be specific on a number like, but 1.3 million jobs. Does that sound right to you? That
Yeah, that they're expecting unemployment to go up.
yeah,
They're expecting the loss of that many jobs.
correct. Yeah, yeah, that's what. But of course, he wouldn't commit because how can you? You know,
Right, right.
I don't want that guy's job. I do not want that guy's job.
No,
But
he has no. Yeah, I mean that's. I don't know. I think everybody's got their own opinions, and this ain't a political channel, but I just think you know, people run our country worse than they run their own checkbooks. It's crazy. It's like,
yeah,
how
I have
much
to
money
agree.
they spend.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to spend your hundreds of $1,000s, but stay off of mine. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean,
if
how
I was
about let's say
spending your money, I'd have a new car today. I also know
exactly.
that relative to the economy, it boils down to what you're saying. I think, tell me if this is right, that what they're trying to do is get fewer dollars chasing the same number of goods. They're trying to slow down circulation a little bit. That's what is going to cool off inflation. And I also understand that all in, I was looking at this just the other day, on housing, it's 18% of the GDP, the gross domestic product, 18%. And the way they figure that is new houses count, existing sales don't because they've already sold once. But anything that's done, any repairs, any HVAC, any paint, anything done to an existing home goes towards the domestic product, right? And so by slowing things down, you've got a handle essentially if they mess with the market, the housing economy, on 20% of the market. That's a pretty big handbrake, if you ask me. You know.
Yeah, I was, and I don't know, and I'll do some research on this because I'm interested because I've heard that number's closer to 70%. Like everything affiliated with housing, appliances, lumber, nails, everything, roofing,
Yeah,
um,
all of it.
yeah, everything. I mean, and essentially, you can say that about everything. You talk about trucking or whatever. Um, they need tires, gas, and all this other stuff, right? So,
Right. But anyway, so let's talk about what I was kind of promoting was the idea of the good news. And here's the way I'm looking at this thing. Because Rodney, because I know you and I have been in this a couple of times. Hang on, I'm going to turn this on and off. So bear with me. Okay, good, good. Because we've been through this a couple of times, meaning market slowdowns. It's like, Andy, that's crazy. How can there be good news for home buyers? Well, here's the deal. And I'm just going to put it to you kind of this way. And Ronnie, please chime in when you want. This is what I've written out. Yeah, the rates are higher, and I think that today they've even gone high. They're talking, 7%. Matter of fact, you predicted that.
yes.
You did. You predicted that 2 or 3 weeks ago, 7 or 8%. I think that you said so. There you go.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, I also, yeah, with my two predictions, I predicted what 20 plus years ago, I think it predicted that they'd never go lower than 7%. So as soon as I made that prediction, they went lower than 7% and then stayed under there for 20 years. So I'm not exactly Nostradamus on this show.
however, you could be.
My latest
Correct.
prediction was correct, though.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Let me get this out of the way. Hopefully, this sound doesn't mess up here. There we go. So the next thing is that median prices are going down. This was kind of shocking. The median prices, the way they gauge that is across the country, across the state, whatever it is in your particular locale. And this is supposed to be a United States number, but it's gone from median price in the country was 418 and it's down to 389. I'm going to tell you that that's a chunk of change from where we've come from. To have the median home price drop that much is a lot. That's significant because prices have been jumping up by 20% per year over the last couple of years. Now they're saying 14 now, but the reason that measurement is weird is because they've been dropping off these last few months. If you go year over year, it seems really high. If you go month over month, we're losing ground pretty fast. So Jerry's getting it done. Another prediction that came across the other day was Zillow, and I don't like competing with them, but I got a lot of respect for that company. They're really big on data. They're really good at that. And a month ago, they had predicted get this. This is, oh, here, I'm going to get wrapped up. Hi, Angie. You know me, I'm a talker. I'm going to get, here we go. A month ago, they were predicting a 2.4% rise versus 20 or 14 or whatever the number might be. 2.4% for the next year, meaning July of 23. That's what they're predicting. This year they came out, or this month they came out 1.4. So they've revised that down to one. If you can imagine, Rodney, 1.4% expected price growth in housing during the course of next year, meaning August 23. 1.4%. That's just nuts. And so what's happening now is 21% of the houses across the country are lowering their asking prices. That's up from like 10 or 11%. And the reason that's happening is the buyers are getting shoved out. We've talked about this before. Rates are going to affect what I call fringy people. I don't mean that in a bad way, but when you're a first-time home buyer, you know, for me anyway, the first time I bought a house, I just barely qualified, but I did. You know, I was a fringy person. It wouldn't have taken me much to knock me out of the market. If I'm too much of a rule, just lift a finger, Rodney. You know, I'll shut up. But I got my facts in front of me. So 21%, that's up. We expect that to go up. And if I check my email, I get the price drops on email from Zillow all the time. It has lessened some. So what that means is that the sellers are starting to listen to their agents, and they're starting to price more properly for the market. First couple of months, they were just like shooting for the moon, shooting for the stars and hoping for the moon, right? And that wasn't working. So we're having tremendous number of price drops. Well, that is starting to ebb just a little bit, but it's still there. But still 21% are lowering their asking price. And I'm going to be talking to what Angie's talking about too, you know, what she's got headed for herself. Here's the thing. The markets that were the hottest, and we've talked about this before, seems like we're covering the same turf, but I tell you what, it's new information every week. Like Denver, like Phoenix, places in California, not all of them, it's San Francisco would be an example. Those are really hot markets over this last couple of years, and those are the ones that are going to dip the fastest because I'm going to say, I think Angie used the word artificial inflation. I think that she's probably right. When you agree to how those shaped up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think our values here was a little bit artificial. It's I don't know. Artificial is as good as anything self-created.
Yeah.
You know, it's just too much demand for not enough. You know, at that time, and
Right.
so. And that's part of the reason Fed's doing what they're doing is to get the supply and demand more in line.
Yeah, and that's going to be the punchline to this whole show today. So, and I don't like you said, I don't know if the official is right or wrong. I mean, artificial is right or wrong or indifferent, but here we are, just more demand in those places for whatever reason. So, but now we have the holiday season coming up, and if you know as well as I do what happens in the holiday season, usually the listings start to slow down about the end of October. Beginning in November is when I started getting messages and calls and emails from sellers. You know, I think we're just going to hold off till spring and see what happens, you know, and sometimes buyers will say, you know, we're just going to hold off and wait till it happens in the spring because very few people want to have their home listed through the holidays, especially now knowing that they're going to be on the market more because the days on market increase 6 days. That's a bunch. Then that means the sellers are having a hard time finding buyers. So longer days on market. Who wants to be on the market during the holidays? Nobody. But here's the tip. I'm telling you, as a 17-year guy in real estate, I'm telling you something. This is true. When you're looking at houses, let's say you are a buyer and you need to buy a house for one reason or another, and you're out during the holiday season, maybe just before Thanksgiving, maybe that really weird time between Thanksgiving and Christmas You know, I had a guy remind me once, you know, the holiday doesn't last all month. It's just one day, right?
Yeah.
That was Terry DeSalms, you know, he says, it's just one day, you know, don't make it a month long thing. But between Thanksgiving and Christmas is when people get, you know, I'm just in the holiday mood, that kind of stuff.
What are you talking about, man? My employees shut down when they even get in Thanksgiving month. They go into all my salespeople and support staff.
I'm telling you, real estate agents,
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, they tell me the same thing. Like Rodney, there ain't, everybody I work with is not working right now.
I can tell you before this weirdness, this last thing, for 10 years in a row, my best months of the year were in December. You know, they always were. But
Yeah.
here's my tip. If you're a buyer and you're looking for a house during the holiday season, there's one thing I'm so confident of. You can negotiate for that house because the only reason I believe that they have their home listed during the holiday season is because they got to sell that house. You know, if they had
Hmm.
the option of sitting it out, they'd be waiting till spring, you know? So if you find a house that you like during the holidays, chances are pretty good you can negotiate something. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
you can. Honey, let's just
Well,
get it sold for Christmas. You know, that's what you'll get.
what about? It seems like that would make as much sense on the listing side as well. Like, would you, given that same theory, is it a good time to list? Like, if you had a listing, would it be a good time to tell your people to list?
Only if, well, you know, because there is a flip side to that. There's a condition that I would have with the seller, and that is we're going to make sure that your pricing is right. If we're getting showings, the pricing is right. You know, if we're getting that. But the fact is, the buyers that come through during a holiday showing, the looky-loos they've gone south for the winter. You know, the
Right.
buyers that are out beating around in the cold, and around here it doesn't snow a lot, but it gets that cold, it'll cut through you, you know. Those buyers are serious. They are serious about that. Um,
Yeah.
but the difference is, as a seller, you got one shot to sell. As a buyer, you can have a number of options. So, you know, options win. You know, if you're trying to sell your house, you're still going to have to be friendly. Does that make sense? So yeah, I mean that bottom line is
Yeah.
everybody that's
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I just thought it would be less competition. That's why I'm not a real estate agent. That's what I was thinking is like, if I'm going to list it and take the chance of somebody, obviously nobody's going to be coming in on Christmas, right?
Mm.
But if I'm going to have to fool with, well,
I've had
if I'm going
Christmas
to
Eve ask requests before.
fool with,
I've had that before.
yeah, if I'm going to be showing during a holiday period, I would figure that the people looking are interested, and the sellers should be motivated as well.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, or else like you said, you wouldn't be doing it at that time.
yeah. What I call that the hit rate. The hit rate goes up real high during the holiday seasons because the people that are kicking the tires and just guessing and kind of just, you know, looky loos, and I don't mean that bad way. Window shoppers, they're not doing it. They're not doing it.
Right.
I did have one couple that wanted to look at high end properties for, swear to God, it turns out for Christmas decorations. But I was a rookie back then, so I did never repeat that. Anyway, so here we get down to the kind of the little bit of the trick that what I'm talking about, good news for the home buyers. And Rodney, I need you to back me up on this because I do have charts. Let me make sure if I can, let me find one here. Okay, yeah. I'm going to show you something here. Maybe this will see if this makes sense. Then we've got something. When it comes to home prices, this is the median home price or the median sales price for houses sold in the United States, and that's all the way from 65. So we don't want all that. We just want to come all the way up here. Here's my whole point. When it comes to home prices, if you look back in the crash of '08, that's back here. Remember that, Rodney? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we went from the first quarter of '07 to the first quarter of '09. House prices dropped that much from 257 to 208. It's probably more severe than that in as little as 2 years. And we're seeing something similar. It won't go that low, but we're seeing something similar. But my point is, it took years for the prices to grow back. That's my whole point on that. And what I'm saying is, when you compare that, then it'll make sense here in a second. Let's go with this. Hang on. Bear with me, folks. Here we go. This is how the mortgage rates change. This is from 2020 all the way back 2010. And you can see how they vary a lot. Here's my point. Over the long term, the price of a house will drop pretty quick. Like we're in a market now where the prices, they're being adjusted pretty quickly. But back in the day, during the crash, when things sort of, the dust settled and they started fixing things, it took years for those prices to recover. I know some people that bought a house in '08, it took almost, maybe not 10 years, but pretty close to it, 6 years for them to recover back to the base value they were on '08. They were in that trough for a long time. The good news here is, because we've got home prices that are dropping pretty consistently across the country, and we don't, just like what you're saying, Rodney, with what Jerry's doing, and I've heard things today of people talking about maybe they're afraid that he's overdone it. Of course, that's natural. It's just news, conjecture. But as the prices drop, everybody's concerned now. We're talking about 7%. Are you crazy? That's what a lot of people are going to be thinking. But if rates drop to 6, are you happy about the lower price? If the rate dropped to 5.5, are you happy about the lower price? And that's all I'm saying is, home prices, the median prices, that happens slowly, but the mortgage rates are up and down every day. And at some point, when the price of the house gets low enough where you're saying, it's starting to look like a good deal, then you can kind of, and I hate saying watch rates, I'm not really that guy, but that's the good news. You got buyers that are willing to negotiate. You got buyers that are on the market longer than they want to be. And a lot of buyers, I'm talking about sellers, I'm sorry about all of that. You got sellers that they want to sell as quickly as possible so they don't lose more value, more days on the market. They have to negotiate. That's not where they want to be, but that's where they are. They're trying to beat the race of going downhill. If you're a buyer, then all you're doing is taking into account that interest rate, whatever it is that you're comfortable with. 7, maybe not. 6, maybe. 5.5, maybe. Maybe it'll break 5 soon. I don't know, But that's the whole point. Is the last time I'll say it. I'm just trying to be clear in my own head, because prices move so slowly in the housing market. When you have that variable mortgage rate going up and down, you can catch it at its lowest ebb, and you can probably find a deal, relatively speaking. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, I think about it. I'm with you. I do think about it a little bit more globally, meaning maybe not globally, but just as those graphs, just as you showed that graph, and when you do the same with rates, if you're in the market to purchase right now, you're going to catch this rate, whatever it is, between now and whenever you buy. right?
Right.
If somebody's wanting to buy and they have to buy right now, they get pre-approved today. So the rates today are say 7%. And by the time they close, somewhere in between the time they close in 30 days, it might be 6 3/4 or 7 1/4. So you're when you're when you're buying, you're just basically at the mercy of the market, whatever the rates are during that time period. Um, and then, of course, it needs to fit your budget. And like you're saying, now that the home prices are coming back a little bit, it might be something that you can relook at it, or you might be closer than you think of having a payment that you like.
Yeah. Yeah. I think,
Because it's, who knows who knows what they're going, when we're going to start another cycle going up or down. It's just it's still going up right now. The prices are trying to go backwards, and rates are still going up. So um, it's just a weird time. If you have to buy right now, you just we just try to make it as affordable as possible and just say, hey, we're obviously, when you're going to manage your debt, whether it's 5 or 6 years, you just need to manage this debt and get it in a little bit better position whenever there's a time to do that, buy
yeah.
refinance or whatever.
Well, and I think that's the whole bottom line. Then I like to tackle Angie's questions here. My whole point, I think what the article was saying, and I happen to agree with it, is that yes, we're in a tough market, but it's putting, and I'm sorry, Angie, about this, but it's putting sellers in a tricky position. But for the first time in a couple of years, some buyers are going to feel like there's a little bit of hope because the way prices were going, it was going to be for any kind of buyer, pretty short order. It was going to be kind of a hopeless deal if they kept going like they could or like they were. I mean, that was clearly unsustainable, like Jerry said. So that's all I'm saying, and with a projected 1.4 next year, who knows what it's really going to be, but that's a heck of a lot less than expected 20. So let's handle a couple of things with Angie. She has mentioned here, I hope she doesn't mind me adding this here. She's talking about the economy. Her husband had to lay off 18 guys. No kidding. That's a lot. And that's, I assume, based on the economy. That's what's going on right now. So she says here she was kind of shooting for early summer. That way, families with school-age kids can get settled before school starts. And I have to agree. How do you feel about that? Late early summer?
Yeah, it's that to me that seems like the ideal time for a
Yeah.
family to move is that time for me. But it's just not always, because honestly, isn't it the job change that dictates most of the moving, or in the United States. It's like people move here for family or jobs, so a lot of it just depends on how it works with their schedule. But if I'm moving and I have a choice, it sure won't be while kids are in school. I'd want to come in and get settled and then know where the school's at and get them registered and all that stuff. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah, I think that Rodney, you make an excellent point, and that's why I've done really well. I don't mean that it sounded arrogant. I didn't mean it. I moved here from Colorado Springs back in 2004, so I know what it's like to move a household into a new area that I knew nothing about this place, nothing. And so over the years, I've become really, really good at moving people in and out of town. You know that.
yeah.
And one of the things that I have them do early on is come by for the city for a visit. 2 days, 3 days maximum. Nothing. You don't need more than that. Just to drive around, get some windshield time in, get to know the area, feet on the ground, and that way, when you're looking at properties back at home and wherever you're from, you can say, "I've been there. I know what to expect. I like that." So you do have to lay the groundwork for moving someplace, and that interviewing schools, driving through the neighborhoods, looking at your price point. Does this type of house fit your lifestyle? you've got a lot of groundwork to do. Her next question here that I see is, do you think by summer next year homes will be about what they are now, meaning steady but not going? But if you listen to Zillow, and again, I don't want to compete with those guys. I got no problem with them. They're brokers, and so we're all in this together. But they're giving us a 1.4% growth in a year. So if we go by what they're saying, it is going to be about the same.
Yeah.
You know, but that's starting from a lower point. You don't know. I mean, I still think there's price adjustments to go on. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with you. If you told me 1.4%, that means our market has to improve from the numbers that are coming in monthly, or else it's going to be that 1.4 next month with the same decline numbers that we're having right now is liable to be negative, and then the next month it's going to be further negative.
Yeah.
So I think, as like you've been talking about, instead of this rolling number, if they look more recent, I don't think it's going to. I would be pleased with 1.4. I think that now, if rates are already at a point where I think it shut most everybody down, in my opinion, it shut the people down who are doing this that don't have to do it.
Say that again.
I
Say
think
that again.
I think the rates have shut the market down. You know, the
Hmm.
rates combined with the historical home pricing, the historic appreciation that we've had and the prices that's went up over the last few years. I think that 7% mortgage rate or above 6% has stopped a lot of the purchasing.
Yeah. And you make a really good point too. What you're saying is month over month versus year over year. We've had some actual declines the last couple of months. Now they're not big. It's negative 0.7 or something like that. It's thank goodness. Really glad. But that's how
Well,
you.
that's the month over month, but if you look at the percent decline when it first turned, it was huge numbers. It wasn't a percent. It was it went from a huge plus to a huge minus, didn't it? Like the first few months.
The actual show and decline, as far as I know, and somebody, feel free to correct me. Um, it was the biggest we've seen was point 0.7, point 0.7 decline. Up to this point, had been deceleration. In other words, just slow growth. It was growing like this. Now it was glowing like this. Now it actually had a decline the last 2 months. And that's where some of the alarm bells are going off because they were actual declines,
Yeah,
just slowing down.
In- instead of not going up.
Yeah, not going up slowly, just
Yeah,
going.
at a fast rate.
Yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, yeah. I think, you know what? I tell you, there's one, we've got one unknown variable though, midterms. What can be done between now and midterm? Somebody's got a nice engine out there. I bet you could hear that.
I couldn't hear
It's
it.
outside my window. I bet you that there can be a lot of MBSs bought up and mortgage rates adjusted pretty quickly.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the Feds. I don't know if they're going to change their tune if midterms.
No, I'm not saying the Feds. I'm just saying if if a lot of the
Like
mortgage-backed
consumer
securities,
confidence and things like that.
I mean, if the government went in and bought in a bunch of mortgage-backed securities, and all of a sudden rates are going down, right? And that's the way that works.
Yeah,
Liquid.
they're dumping them at an alarming fashion right now. So yeah, that would definitely have to stop.
That's crazy. Well, I think that the bottom line is, and this was here's why I see it as good news. Buyers have options now that they didn't have. I understand. We're both Rodney and I see the rates, and we understand that. But if you're prepared, and if you can still press forward, you've got options when it comes to the housing side of things. Meaning you're going to have more houses to choose from. They're actually going down in price. For goodness sakes, if you're buying, negotiate. Don't, for goodness sakes, try to negotiate. Be strong, not rude, but strong. Make sure that they're paying for your title insurance, whatever you can get. Make sure you do that. But I think that what people have been talking about, they were talking about a strange buzzword, was we're headed towards there's signs that we're headed towards a balanced market. And a balanced market simply means that buyers and sellers are on an equal footing more, and it takes 5 to 6 months for a house to sell. That's the inventory is 5 to 6 months. Not 6 months to sell, but 5 months, 6 months of inventory. And what that means from a real estate perspective, as far as I'm concerned, is what's been causing the prices to go up this last couple of years is availability. It's scarcity. Since there were none, you're paying a premium price just to get a roof over your head and beat out the 20 other people that wanted it. When we get to a balanced market, then it's based on the merit of the house. You can ask for whatever you want, but if it's a good house, it gets more money. If it's in a bad location, it gets less money. If it's in, school districts make a difference to people. That's that kind of thing. So it's based on merit.
Right.
So that's what I'm thinking. Balanced market. That's where we're headed.
Yeah, I believe it is.
And I guess the secret would be, we'll find out this next month. We're about done, but it'll be interesting going forward to see what this rate hike has done. And then when spring, I want to see what happens in February. It's either going to crickets or Katie bar the door. Or maybe smooth sailing. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, who knows? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just,
We're just watching.
yeah. I mean, I've done it for a long time. This roller coaster of rides is always entertaining as we go through them.
Yeah.
So just enjoying the ride. There's plenty of people still buying, but obviously when it's down, 70% or 75% of the demand that it was, we're not as busy as we were. But you take the good with the bad.
You do. Hey, we knew that when we got into this thing. And the bottom line is, if you're a well-prepared buyer, the world is your oyster right now. If you're ready to go, don't be afraid of that. The house is a long-term deal. I will not use that term.
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely is. Maybe next week we should. I got some calculators that we can talk about. What's your appreciation going to look like at 1.4% next year, and then 3% the following year. I mean, we can run some calculators on online here and look at some appreciation stuff and see what it looks like.
That's a great idea. That's what I'll advertise. Then we're going to run the numbers. We're going to run the numbers then next week. Cool.
You got it.
Hey, well, Angie, thanks a lot. You appreciate you being here like always. Where's that hat, Rodney? Did you get those hats made?
Yeah, I've actually ordered them. They haven't come back with my price yet, but I told them make me up see what they look like, make me up about 50, 60 of them. So I really did.
We'll make the third Tuesday of every month Hat Day.
Yeah. As soon as I have them made, I'll wear it when we come online.
Got it. Rodney, thank you very much. Angie, thank you. Rodney, any last words for us, buddy?
Now let's keep doing what we're doing. Good to see you, man.
See you. Thank you so much.
See ya.
Bye. Bye, Angie.